Hello, everyone. Finally got her going here. My name is John DeBenedictis, and I'm going to be talking about the secrets to scoring goals on the last touch. And my presentation is kind of directed at coaches. How many of you are coaches here? Oh, there's a few of you. Good. And I've written a book, as I say, called The Last 9 Seconds. And my presentation, as I say, is for coaches, and let's get her started. Now, as a coach, we all know how to score goals. We teach our players all the time how to score goals. You know, are there really any secrets? The answer is no, not really. But what happens to players when they get chances to score? All of a sudden, they miss glorious opportunities. What happened? What's wrong with our coaching? So I'll use the word secrets in a different way. Every time I talk to coaches, I get the same complaints. We should have won, but we missed too many chances. It's so many could have, should have. This is a press release from 2004. It's the Toronto Inferno of the W League. It's the women's league. They just lost to Long Island. And the press release came out. It's frustrating because our players are getting a lot of chances. This was GM Marmo said. However, I think there's just a lack of confidence when it comes to finishing. And Coach McManus feels that his players need to be better prepared when scoring chances occur. These are quotes. Our strikers are not always ready to shoot when the balls arrive, and in turn, it takes them too long to get their shots off. That's from Coach McManus back in a game that Toronto lost to Long Island. Just recently, I got an email from a coach in Florida. He's from Florida Memorial University, and he asked me about players. He says, I need, college-bound soccer players, maybe with scholarship opportunity. I need players who are male and female because he's looking after both the teams. Serious goal scorers wanted. So don't we all want that great goal scorer? Just to get you in the mood, let's watch some goals. Well, there you go. The commentator said it. He hits it so early. This is the secret. That's the big goal Ronaldo scored against Turkey, and actually in my book, that's the picture of that goal right there. Right? He hits it so early. Oh, what happened now? Tech guy. All right, FIFA Magazine, 2004. Most common result in soccer, 19% of games result 1-0. 10% of matches, there are no goals. 23% of matches have 2 goals. 20% of matches have 3 goals. So as you know, goal scoring is it's a low-scoring game. Goal scoring in 2000 and the last World Cup is down. Since they've allowed 32 teams in 1998 in the 64 games, in 1998 there were 171 goals scored. In 2002 went down to 161. 2006 went down to 147. And the last World Cup, it dropped even further to 145. So goal scoring is down. And the question is why? Just one goal can decide a game, can it? In the final, where Spain won 1-0, Robbins missed a great opportunity to score, and Iniesta, of course, scored the one and only goal that won the World Cup. That's Robbins' attempt at scoring for Holland, and there's, of course, Iniesta and the winning goal. Great goal, wasn't it? Not if you're a Dutch fan. So playing striker is a psychologically negative position. The best goal scorers in the world only score 1 goal in 2 games. Let me explain the psychology. If there are 6 strikers in a game, so one coach is playing with 3 strikers, the other coach is playing with 3 strikers, there's 6 strikers in a traditional game. If 19% of goals result in 1-0 final score, that means only one of those 6 players has ended the game in a positive note. And the other 5 are a little bit negative. So that could start to play in a player's mind. If it's a 2-1 game, again, 3 out of the 6 players are positive. The other one's a bit negative, the other 3. But what if a midfielder scores? What if a defender moves up to score? So that striker has pressure on him all the time. And the media, of course, they're always looking at what's wrong with the striker? Why can't he score? He hasn't scored in 4 goals. It's a little bit unfair. But that's the striker situation. They need to deal with it psychologically. This is Dick Bate from the English FA. He said that the best goal scorers only score 1 goal in every 2 games. So in my session, I'll be bouncing around between psychology, human movement, and facts. Most of the slides that I show to players in my goal scoring course that I do. I do a 3-day golden goal scoring course for players, and 60% is in the classroom. I really want to brainwash them to make the right decisions in a game. So some of these slides are geared at players because we're visual learners. And I just talk about the last 9 seconds before a goal. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not going to talk about team formations, getting a chance to score. If you're coaching a team that never gets a chance to score, my book in this session is not for you. I'm looking at 9 seconds before every goal. So in a 1-0 game, the whole book, 400 pages on 9 seconds. What's going on in the mind of the player 9 seconds before a goal? Where is he going? Where should he go? What's he doing? What are his decisions or her decisions? Different. So it's a different type of presentation, kind of a player sessions with coaching points. I want to leave a strong impression so that they never, ever forget the information, especially in the heat of the moment when an opportunity occurs. My sessions are geared for high school age kids, 13 years of age and up. And in my course, I do 12 hours in the class, 8 on the field. It's a 3-day course. All right, so don't worry about taking notes. Enjoy the information. Is scoring teachable? Some think it's an innate gift. The Dutch speak of a nose for goals. Most goal scorers know how they do it. Fearful of revealing their secrets, they seldom talk about it. This was Simon Cooper, who's written a number of books, wrote an article for the Times Weekend Edition, Financial Times, and he interviewed all the goal scorers, or a lot of goal scorers from the Premier League, and he was trying to get details. And most goal scorers do not like to give details because it's very simple, some of the things that they know, and they don't want someone else to steal their secrets. Pele, for example, I had a chance to meet Pele in New York a couple years ago, and I asked him, what's the secret to scoring goals? And he said, well, I worked on my heading because a number of goals are scored with the head. And I worked on my left foot because I needed to be able to kick with both feet, and of course my right foot. So that's the secret. I think if you ask any coach, they're all going to want their athletes to kick with both feet and head a ball. So even the great Pele, after his career is done, doesn't give you some of the finer details. So what I like to do when I work with players, I like to tell them it's a secret. These are secrets. I want to work one-on-one with them to get into their psyche so that they believe that it's their own material. They believe that these simple things are secrets, and the decisions that they make are secrets. And I don't want them to tell anybody else. All right? So that's a very powerful word, secrets. Why are there so few? What makes these goal scorers different? One thing I notice is that good goal scorers will score against weak teams as much as they score against good teams. All right? They don't just score against weak teams and then they can't score against good teams. These are in my studies. And you try and want these secrets, decision-making things to become automatic. So I like to tell the players, you know what? It's fun to score. It's fun to score. So we want to watch some celebrations. So that the players get the message that it doesn't matter what kind of goal you score, it's fun to score. How many coaches say, man, if I had that natural striker? But do you spend enough time in the psychology of the players who get chances to score? It could be the difference between winning and losing. So I'm going to provide different options, keywords, visuals. And we're going to look at perception. Look at the natural superstar, Neymar, Messi, Maradona, Pele, Beckham, Rooney, even in other sports, Gretzky, James, Jordan, Crosby, football, Brady, Manning. Are they born with something? No, not really. But they do seem to have an ability to see what's around them, a great perception of their surroundings. Superstars seem to have that ability. I'm going to look at 3 types of perception. What's going on in the mind, such facts, confidence. I think we can train that quickly. Human movement, which I'm not going to have much time today to get into, and then putting them all together. So I want to look at the main reasons why goals are not scored, and the players need to know that. Why are goals not scored? Beyond knowing the skills of kicking or passing. I believe it's psychological. Like in baseball, in baseball, if you hit the ball 3 out of 10 times, you are a multimillionaire. You hit the ball 2 out of 10 times, you don't even make the majors. That small margin of error, making less mistakes. I think Zidane was a superstar, wasn't he? So, top 2 reasons why goals are not scored. Top 2 reasons why goals are not scored. Reason number 1, players don't shoot. Reason number 2, and Robin passed the responsibility of taking a shot on goal on that case. Players don't shoot. Second reason, goals are not scored. They miss the net. Those are your top 2 reasons for players that can kick, pass, and head a ball. So I want to work on the players and consider that they're playing an individual sport for my striker. From a psychological point of view, pretending they're playing an individual sport. What goes into the makeup psychologically of a player who plays an individual sport like tennis? In tennis, the player who makes the fewest mistakes usually wins. A guy like Roger Federer. Federer had all sorts of problems when he started his career. He got mad at the refs. He got mad at himself. And it wasn't until a psychologist came around and said, you need to put those things past you and concentrate on the things that you're good at. And of course, Federer, as you know, became the #1 tennis player in the world, and he made very few mistakes. You had to really beat him to beat Federer. He made very few mistakes. And when he made a mistake, he didn't let it bother him. Well, Tiger Woods, he's back on top. You need a special makeup to play individual sport. You can't blame anybody else. You can't blame the pass. You can't blame the goalie. It's you and the ball in an individual sport. But of course, in soccer, you always got people trying to make life difficult for you. It's not always easy to lose tight marking. Even fashion could distract you from. And then here you even got this is Mia Hamm. That's the attacker on the defender. A lot of clutching, grabbing. Strikers themselves aren't always innocent. You're seeing a lot of this. It's not easy. This one here, I don't know. This is the girl that came to my course. She ended up going to Central Michigan, Laura Tweidel. She's being grabbed here in a game. It's important to know we're all human, and even the best make mistakes. Our brains cannot possibly be in deep cognitive thought all the time. Real mental strength comes from the acceptance that you are only human, and we got to make sure that the past does not affect future performance. And there's a great book from Rafi Severo, Winning with Your Head, and he talks about that. There's the book there. Real mental strength comes from acceptance that you are only human. And he goes through a whole bunch of things in his book. So I would recommend that, even for players. Perception. Coach, the next slide. These are the rules. I like to call them the secrets. The 4 golden rules on how to score a goal. Ready for this? These are the 4 rules of how to score a goal every time, most of the time. Rule number 1, direct the ball at the net. Direct the ball at the net. Okay? At the net. Not away from the net, direct the ball at the net. Rule number 2, hit the net. Hit the net. Rule number 3. Ready for this one? Do not miss the net. Do not miss the net. And rule number 4, if you're having problems with rules number 2 and 3, go back to rule number 1, direct the ball right at the net. Hit the net. Those are the rules to scoring, very simple. Direct the ball at the net. It's so simple. So when I did this presentation in, I can't remember if it was Baltimore or Charlotte, a coach emailed me about 6 months later. The first time I introduced the 4 rules of scoring, they thought I was a goofball. Over time, they have begun to realize that scoring is really that simple. That's from Jack Bear, Howland High School girls soccer in Howland, Ohio. And the team all of a sudden started scoring goals. Simple psychological stuff that just seemed to work with the players. So when I'm working with players, I got to erase their memory, reprogram the mind for the last 9 seconds of the player who's supposed to score. So I like to talk about the last touch. I like to talk about the last step, second last touch. I want them to know where to go, when to get there, and why you do it to score. And then how to prepare to score in 9 seconds. So we need to know, what is a goal? The ball has to just cross the line, and it's not often a thing of beauty. Rebounds, it could be ugly goals. But what happens is the brain of the typical young player watches the highlight reel. So if they're watching the top 10 goals, they're watching the highlights, you know, those types of goals are not real goals as a percentage of the goals scored in the game of soccer. The stats, when you score a goal, if you're a player, the statistics do not tell you how you scored that goal. I don't know who's the top scorer for the Montreal Canadiens, but in Toronto it's Kadri. And it doesn't tell you how he scored. Breakaway, off his leg, doesn't tell you. The statistics are there. You scored X amount of goals. So it doesn't matter how beautiful or ugly that goal is. Your name with the goal, that's it. That's what's important. If you score lots of goals on a consistent basis, the scouts cannot ignore you. Most highlight reel goals bulge the net. The net bulges. It looks great. But most of those bulging goals are illusions because it's not real. Your mind is playing tricks on you. I'll explain that in a minute. So what I did is I looked at the point of entry of when the ball crossed the goal line. Now here's what your brain thinks you need to do to score. All right, that's the goal. I've divided into upper third, middle third, lower third, left, center of the goal, and right part of the goal. And most players think that if you hit those corners, that's where most goals are scored. That's where most players believe most goals are scored. And if you watch a highlight reel, I was watching the top 10 goals of the U.S. 1999 World Cup, the girls, and 8 out of the 10 goals that they showed, as the top 10 goals, were in those locations. But this is where the ball actually entered the net in all the 1999 Women's World Cup. Each dot represents when the ball crosses the goal line. It's a little bit different than what most people think you need to do to score. It was 7 out of 10 were in the top corner in the World Cup. This is the 2002 Men's World Cup. Each dot represents when the ball crossed the goal line. That's where the ball is going in. Look how many are going in just in the middle part of the net, the bottom part of the net. And this is the 2006 World Cup, Men's World Cup. Each dot represents when the ball crosses the plane of the goal. They're all over the place. They're not in the top corner, bottom corner. And in the latest World Cup, look where that ball's going into the net. Now, goal scorers, if you're a natural goal scorer already, you already know this. You're not liking me too much because I'm giving a secret away that you probably already have. But most goals, they're not necessarily pretty goal. This one here was scored in 2002 World Cup. I forget the guy's name sitting there, but he scored while sitting down. Ugly goal. This goal was scored against Buffon. The ball crossed the line, so I looked at the point of entry, and what happened is it hit the side meshing, and the net bulged off to the side. So again, there's an illusion. But when I tracked the ball from the point of the shot past the goalie and once across the goal line, it was 2 to 3 yards away from the post. Not right at the post where most players will aim. 2 to 3 yards away. When it bulged the net, the ball traveled 6 yards. And because it hits the side of the net and the camera angle that you're watching, you get the feeling that it went in the corner. It really didn't even go close to the corner, 2 to 3 yards away. But as long as you keep aiming for those corners, you're going to miss more chances. This is the goal that we saw in Iniesta earlier, the winning World Cup goal. The ball crosses the line. You can't even see the post. It's about almost the middle of the net, about 3 yards away from the post. The ball crosses the line. So if you're not aiming for the post, if you tend to aim 2 to 3 yards in, even if you miss, you're more likely to score. These types of goal, you got to get it out of your mind if you want to score. And if you're a coach, you want to make sure your players aren't always aiming for these types of goals because they will miss more often. So when you score a highlight reel goal, and you will, players think that, oh, the next goal is going to be just beautiful like that one, and then they end up doing it. I know I play hockey, men's hockey, and I'm a defenseman, so I don't score very often. I don't get to go up. I remember this one game I went up. I took a slap shot, top corner. Wow, it felt great. So, of course, the next time I got the chance, I'm aiming for the top corner. Duh, what a dummy. Of course, I missed the net. But it's just natural. When you score a goal like this, the brain will want to score another one like this. So you start to forget the basics, the simple basics. So you got to get your players back to reality right away. So what's reality? Most goals are scored in the bottom third of the goal. When the ball crosses the goal line, the net does not have to bulge, but the celebration is the same. Doesn't matter. That celebration is what you want your players to focus on. You want them to be the ones with their hands in the air, all excited. Most goals are scored in the bottom third of the goal. In the 2002 Men's World Cup, 63% of goals were scored in the bottom third of the goal. In the 1999 Women's World Cup, 60% were scored in the bottom third. And when you shoot low, you can never say, oops, I shot it too low. But if you're shooting high, you're going to be shooting it too high quite often. But to do the right thing to score, the brain has to eliminate all the clutter. Because there's all sorts of clutter going on, and you got to make the right choices. So the players need to be in the zone. Now I just got to check my time here because I know we're closing off here shortly. Okay, I got about 8 minutes. This is Vince Carter, basketball player. I'm only going 8 more minutes. I got another hour and a half, but I'm only going 8 more minutes. So I'll just continue here. So this Vince Carter, Man of the Year in Toronto, when he played for Toronto, this is what he said. Like a chess game, I see pieces moving, people moving. I try to figure out their path before they take it so I can make mine. When I'm in the zone, I shoot and I see the ball going in before it actually goes in. Sometimes I don't even have to look back because I know where it is. I've already seen it. That's being in the zone. So I'm going to be looking at adding a lot of facts, like in baseball. Baseball is all related to facts, what type of pitches are coming, where to hit the ball. But you need to be in the zone to retrain the players. This is Rivaldo. Look at his eyes, he's in the zone. This is Alan Shearer before a match. what he's doing here in his pre-match preparation, his eyes are closed, and he's visualizing himself probably scoring goals. And he's not visualizing himself scoring those beautiful top corner goals. He's visualizing scoring all the ugly goals, I'm sure, because there's the one that are more likely to happen. Remember, I had a secret. I used to play goalie, by the way. So I wrote the book from a goalkeeper's perspective because I know what it took to score on me. And I was shocked at how many times players missed chances by making wrong decisions. So my whole book comes from a goalkeeping perspective as opposed to a striker's perspective. I used to play at university in Toronto, York, and I used to have problems with breakaways. Players would go around me. I'd come out too fast, go around me, score, make me look bad. So my coach came up to me and said, "Listen, John, what you have to do is you got to focus on when the player that's coming at you touches the ball. So just as the player touches the ball, that split second after he's touched the ball is no longer his, it's nobody's. It's because this player can't touch it again until he steps and then gets his other foot up. He's actually lost possession. Defenders, you're always looking for that too if you're a defender. Oh, wow, that's great stuff. So I went out and tried it. And I got my elbows scraped and knees, and it wasn't working. So then I realized, my gosh, I got to really, really, really focus and concentrate. You can't just happen. You got to get in a zone. And a couple practices later, I got really good at it. And I was never scored on a breakaway ever since that moment. But I realized I had to really be in the zone. You can't just do this stuff. That's really technical stuff. You're trying to predict seconds in your opponents. So I figured there's got to be a similar way to somehow teach our strikers. But sometimes it's not always the player's fault. Perception. I studied the brain and the eye and what the brain sees and what the eye interprets, or vice versa. The eye sees, the brain interprets. And we do have some issues there. There are some issues. Objects in the mirror appear closer than they really are. You know, we even get tricked with mirrors. Have you ever been in a car? You guys who drive? You pull up and park, and just as you stop, the car beside you pulls out. Put on the brakes right away because you think you're moving, right? But you're not moving. Your brain has been fooled. Your eyes and brains are not in cahoots, so there's a problem. So we don't always get it right. So quite often, players miss because their brain interprets what their eye sees incorrectly. Take a look at this picture. This is called the Uchi perception. Just stare at the middle circle for a second. Just stare at it and concentrate on it. Does it not appear after a while that it's moving a little bit? Right? Well, how can it be? It's not possible. So your eyes and brains are not always, and there's a lot of experiments. So can you imagine now, this is Canada playing US, with all these players around moving in different directions and trying to focus on a ball, your brains are going to get it wrong quite often. It's tough. This is Neymar. Look how many people he's got around him. He's got to worry about a ball. He's got to worry about players moving in and out, different directions. So you do need incredible concentration. That striker has to be so focused. And you need to get your strikers in the zone. Teach them how to get into the zone. So I do a lot of that kind of stuff in the classroom. Well, folks, I think they're going to want us to leave, and it is 5:30, which is the end of my session. I do have my book. You can always bring me into your club or whatever. I can go on and on about this topic, of course. So, okay, thanks, guys.